Hello children, welcome to the 8th standard first language English class. In today's session, we will be watching the second session of The Boy Who Sold Wisdom. Now, are you all ready with the assignments I had given to you in the previous session? Okay, now let's quickly go through it and find out what's the correct answer. Let's check if your answers tally with the answers that come up on the screen now. Now, this was the first assignment that I had given to you. You had to do the dictionary work. You had to find the meanings of these words using a dictionary. Now, let's look at each of them and find out if you have found out the right answer, and also in today's class we will see how to use it. Yes, here comes the first word, banished. It means send somebody out of the country as punishment. Now, have you heard of anyone being sent out like this out of a country as punishment? Now, let's see the example here. The Pandavas were banished from their kingdom. Look at the second word, persuade. It means to convince. How do we use it in a sentence? It is very difficult to persuade old people to wear a mask. Yes, now you would have seen that it is very difficult to convince old people to wear a mask because they feel very uncomfortable. Let's look at the next word, feign. Now, what does it mean? It means pretend. Pretend. How do we use it in a sentence? The kids always feign sleep when I go to check upon them. It means that they pretend to be sleeping. They are not really sleeping, they pretend to be sleeping when I go and see or probably peek into their rooms. Now, let's look into the next word, ruse. Ruse is an action intended to deceive someone. In simpler words, it means a trick. Have you got this answer from the dictionary? Okay, now let's see how to use it in a sentence. It was only a ruse to get her alone. It was only a ruse to get her alone. It means it was only a trick to bring her out alone. Now, let's move to the next word, engrave. Yes, the last 4 words were given as homework. Now, the words that now come up are the ones which are going to be used in today's class. So, note them down, children. The first word is engrave. Means to cut words or designs on wood, stone, metal, etc. Now, let's see how we can use this in a sentence. Smita had a ring with her initials engraved on it. It means Smita's ring had her initials engraved or cut on her ring. The next word is scrape. A difficult predicament or a problem caused by one's own unwise behavior. Now, let's see how to use it in a sentence. He has been in worse scrapes than this before. It means he has been in a much more difficult situation than this before because of his unwise behavior. The next word is babbled. It means to talk quickly or in a way that is difficult to understand. Now, how do we use it? They babbled on about their holiday trip, which means they went on telling something which I probably did not understand. This was the second assignment that was given, children. Now, do you remember? Now, let's check the answers. This is an extract. Let's check the answers for this extract. I do not sell wisdom by weight. I sell it by quality. Now, who said this? Yes, you are absolutely right. It's simple, right? The answer is Nagendra. Now, let's move to the next question. When was this said? Check if your answer is right. This was said when Babu wanted to know how much a kg of wisdom costed. I am sure you would have written the right answer. Let's see what's the next one. What does it mean? So, what does I do not sell wisdom by weight, I sell it by quality mean? Wisdom can only be measured by its quality and not by its weight. So, this is the meaning of the extract. Now let's see the next extract. If you want your money back, you will have to sign a document. Now, do you recall these questions? Now let's see if your answers are right. Now the first question is, who said this? Yes, it was Nagendra again. Now let's look at the next question. When was this said? Yes, this statement was made when Mr. Gupta demanded the return of the money from Nagendra. So he asked Nagendra to give back the money. So that was when Nagendra spoke these words. Now let's see the third question. What did it say? What was written in the document? What was written in the document? Do you remember? Yes, it was written that Babu would never use Nagendra's advice, and he would always stand and watch people fighting. Okay, now we will quickly move to the third assignment, children. What were you supposed to do? You were supposed to fill in the blank with the word since or for. So now let's check the answers. The film has been on at the theatres since July. Yes, the first answer is since July. If you remember, we used the word since when we spoke about time, that is a particular point of time. So here July is a particular point of time, so we have used the word since. Now let's look at the second one. She has been on a holiday for the last 3 weeks. Yes, for is used with duration. Which word suggests duration here? Last 3 weeks suggests duration. So we have used the word for. Now quickly let's go to the third question. She hasn't been here. What is the answer now? Month is a duration. So the answer should be for. She hasn't been here for a month. Now let's look at the next one. No one has lived there dash 1989. So recall 1989 is a point of time or duration, and let's check the answer now. Yes, it is since. No one has lived there since 1989. The next question is the first time I have been here since the accident. Yes, this question was probably a little confusing for you, but now understand the accident happened at a point of time. Therefore, we have used the word since. Now, are you clear with the concept of using of since and for? Very good. I am sure you would have all written the right answers. Now, let's quickly recall the story that we learnt in the previous session. The story is based on a boy named Nagendra who had opened a stall in the marketplace. It had a placard, "Wisdom for sale." One day, an ignorant and foolish boy, Babu, came and bought wisdom worth a nickel from him. This angered his father, Gupta, a merchant. The father and son went back to return the wisdom and to get back the nickel. Nagendra returned the nickel by making the father sign a contract. According to it, the boy would never use the wisdom or advice given by him. Instead, he would always stand and watch two people quarreling. This once put him into trouble, as he was a witness to the quarrel between the maids of the two queens of the kingdom. Now let's see what happens next. Open your textbooks and start reading along with me. It is 8th paragraph. The two maids went to their queens and told them about the quarrel, adding all sorts of colorful details to it. The queens were now furious and sent complaints to the king. Each of them sent word to Babu that he was the witness on her side. If he didn't speak in support of her, she would have his head chopped off. Babu was in panic. When his father heard of this, he too was in a panic. Finally, the boy said, "Let's go and ask Nagendra. He has wisdom to sell. Let's see what he has to say to get me out of this scrape." So, the father and son went to Nagendra, who said he would help, but the fee would be 500 rupees. Gupta paid him the money, and Nagendra said, when they call you to court, pretend to be insane. Behave as if you understand nothing of what they say. Next day, the king called the witness. He and his minister asked Babu various questions, but he wouldn't answer any one of them. He merely babbled and uttered nonsensical syllables till the king lost his patience and drove him out of the courtroom. Babu was delighted by the success of the ruse. He told everyone about Nagendra's great wisdom, which soon became a buzzword in the marketplace. Now, Gupta was not pleased. He saw that his son would have to feign madness always, or else the king would find out he had been tricked. He would certainly chop off his son's head if he found out. So, back they went to Nagendra for more wisdom. For another 500 rupees, Nagendra advised them, go back to the king when he is in a good mood and tell him the whole story. He will find it amusing and will forgive you. But make sure he is in a mood of laughter. And so Babu followed the advice given by Nagendra. He found the king in a merry mood and told him the whole story. The king laughed a lot and forgave him. Now look into your text. We'll start with the 11th paragraph. Then the king, who was intrigued by what he had heard of Nagendra in the market, sent for him and asked if he had any more wisdom to sell. Nagendra said, of course, I have plenty to sell, especially to a king, but my fee would be 100,000 rupees. The king paid him the 100,000 and Nagendra gave him a piece of paper on which he had written, think deeply before you do anything. Think deeply before you do anything. The king was so delighted with the advice that he made it his motto. He had it embroidered on his pillows and engraved on his cups and plates so that he would not forget it. Some months later, the king fell ill. The minister and one of his queens had been conspiring to get rid of him. So, they bribed the doctor and persuaded him to poison the king's medicine. When the medicine was brought to the king and he lifted the golden cup to his lips, he read the words engraved on it, think deeply before you do anything. Without suspecting anything, he thought about the words, lowered the cup and looked at the medicine in it. The doctor who was watching all this felt nervous. His guilty conscience made him believe that the king had guessed that his medicine had been poisoned. While the king was thinking, the doctor threw himself at his feet to be forgiven. But the king ordered that the doctor must be arrested. Then he sent for the minister and the queen and insisted that they drink the poison in his cup. They too fell at his feet and begged for mercy. He ordered them to be hanged and he banished the doctor from his kingdom. He made Nagendra his minister and honored him with wealth. How did you like the story, children? Yes, good, isn't it? It has a moral in it. Now, before we find out what's the moral in it, let's check our comprehension of the text that we have just read today. Are you ready? Very quickly keep writing down the questions as well as try to answer the questions. Okay, let's look at the first question that comes up. What did the two maids do? What did the two maids do? Yes, the answer is the maids complained about the quarrel to their queens. Did you get the answer? Okay. We will move to the next question. Why did Babu panic? Why did Babu panic? Let's see the answer. Each of the queens threatened Babu that his head would be chopped off if he did not support them. Yes, now each of the queen's maids had seen Babu seeing their quarrel. So, they made him his witness. Now, why did Babu panic? He panicked because the queens told that his head would be chopped off if he did not support their side. Now, let us look at the next question. Why did Babu and his father go to Nagendra the second time? Do you remember why he went? Now, let us check the answer. Babu and his father went to Nagendra to get some advice to save Babu from the problem. Now, what was the problem? The problem was, yes, if he did not become the witness for either of the queens, his head would be chopped off. Yes. Let us move to the next set of questions. Now, what should you do here? You have to place the true statement under thumbs up and the false statement under thumbs down symbols or the smileys that I have given here. Now, let us see where you will place these sentences. Read this with me now. Nagendra gave his second piece of wisdom for 500 rupees. Is it true or false? Now, let us check the answer. Yes, it is true. Very good. Let us move to the next question. Nagendra advised Babu to tell that he did not witness the quarrel. Remember correctly, Nagendra advised Babu to tell that he did not at all see the quarrel. Was this the advice he gave? Now, let us check the right answer. No, it is the wrong answer. So, see, it has come under thumbs down, smiley. Now, let us check the next one. Nagendra advised Babu to pretend to be insane or mad before the court. What is the right answer? Yes, it is a true statement. He told him, you have to pretend to be insane in the king's court. Now, let us check the next set of tasks that are coming up for us to understand if we have understood this lesson. Now, what should you do? You have to logically rearrange the sequence of the story. Now, this set of sequences of story is given in your textbook, but then I have put it in a different way here so that you will really recall it quickly. Now, shall we do this exercise? Come on. Now, look at these statements. Gupta was unhappy that his son had to feign madness. On Nagendra's advice, Babu went to the king and told the whole story. The king sent for Nagendra. Nagendra advised Babu to pretend madness. Now, you have to think which statement comes first in the story, in the events of the story. Yes. Now, let us check what is the right answer. Yes, the first sentence will be Nagendra advised Babu to pretend madness. Children, you can mark it in your textbooks. This will be the order. The second one is Gupta was unhappy that his son had to feign madness. What is the next statement in the order of the events? On Nagendra's advice, Babu went to the king and told the whole story. When he told the whole story, what did the king do? When he told the whole story, what did the king do? The king sent for Nagendra, which means the king called Nagendra. Let us see the next set of sentences. The minister and one of his queens planned to kill him. Wisdom saved the king and he punished the guilty. He engraved it on his cups, plates and pillow. The king bought wisdom from Nagendra. Now, let us see what is the right order. Yes, here comes the right order. The king bought wisdom from Nagendra. he engraved it on his cups, plates and pillow. Why did he do this? So that whenever he saw them, he could remember this wise statement. The next one, the minister and one of his queens planned to kill him. Wisdom saved the king and he punished the guilty. Now, how did wisdom save the king? How did he punish the guilty? How did wisdom save the king? Yes, when he was about to drink the cup of medicine with poison, he happened to read the statement on it. So, he just wanted to give a thought to it, but the doctor thought the king had known that the poison had been put into the medicine. Now, here comes the next task, children, very easy task. Let's quickly assess the qualities of some of the characters that come up in this text. Now, I have 4 characters here, Nagendra, Gupta, Babu and the maids. Okay. Now, let's see which quality each of them possess. Who has an angry character, who is quarrelsome, who is wise and who is foolish. Shall we do this task together? Fine. Now, let's check who is the angry person here. Yes, who was angry? Gupta was angry. He was angry at Nagendra. Now, let's see who were quarrelsome. Yes, the maids were quarrelsome. Who is wise? Nagendra or Babu? Yes, easy, right? Nagendra was very wise. So, the last one left is Babu was foolish. Wasn't this a nice task? Let's move to the next set of tasks that you have to do. What should you do? You have to fill in the blanks of these incomplete sentences with the correct form of word. This task you will again find in your textbooks. Work with me now. Are you ready? Look at this first sentence that is given there in your text. His brilliance brought honor. Now, you have to choose the right word to fill in the blank there. Now, what is the right word here? Let's check the right answer. Yes, the right answer is his brilliance brought honor. Now, remember the first word brilliantly. When you say brilliantly brought, it becomes an adverb. So, here we are not using the adverb, you are talking about his brilliance. Therefore, here we are using it as a noun. So, brilliance is a noun form of the word. So, the correct form you have to use here is brilliance and not brilliantly. Now, let us look at the next sentence. Wise, wisdom, people solve problems. Now, what you need to do is identify, if you have to keep these words in terms of their parts of speech, then try to solve the sentence. Now, come on, let us check the right answer. Wise people solve problems or wisdom people solve problems. Now, let us check this. Okay, what is the wrong word there? Wisdom is wrong. So, what is right? Wise people solve problems. In spite of or though he was clever, he was without a job. Now, what is the right word to be put in the blank there? Let us check. Yes. So, the right word to be put in the blank is though he was clever, he was without a job. Both these words are conjunctions. Very good. You are right. Now, let us look at the next statement. There was no dearth of sympathy from the people when they heard of the murder. Children, here you have to see these two words as homophones and then you have to see which word you will be retaining there in that statement. So, in case you do not know the meaning of the word dearth, please look up into the dictionary. Now, let us see what is the right answer here. Yes, there was no dearth of sympathy from the people when they heard of the murder. Dearth of sympathy means lack of sympathy. There was no lack of sympathy. Now, look at the fifth sentence. The paucity or pause of funds made them abandon the project. Here, the first word is a noun, the second word is a verb. So, which word will you retain here? Now, let us check the right answer. Okay, so we have removed the word pause, which is in the form of a verb. Now we have retained the noun form of it. The paucity of funds made them abandon the project. So this is the right answer. Now I hope you have understood this lesson. It's a very simple lesson and you have also comprehended the story. Now let's take these home assignments. So what you should do now, read the following extract and answer the questions that follow. Are you ready to write it down? Here comes the first one. Think deeply before you do anything. This is a statement. Now who was asked to think deeply? Who gave this piece of advice? Why was the piece of advice given? How did the advice help the receiver? Children, you might find only 3 questions in your books, but I have put here 4 questions. You have to answer all these 4 questions. Now let's look at the next home assignment. Imagine you are Babu. Write a letter to your friend Salim narrating how Nagendra's wisdom saved him. So this is a letter writing activity. Now I shall give you some clues how to write this letter in case you have forgotten it. Now you can use these hints. One day, passing Nagendra's shop, bought wisdom, father angry, Nagendra returned money, contract not to use wisdom, watched queen's maids quarrel, call to king's court, Nagendra's advice, pretend insanity, escape punishment, Nagendra famous, if in trouble visit. Now remember, if in trouble visit refers to you are writing to your friend that if you are in trouble you visit Nagendra. Now just to help you, look at the format of the informal letter. You can write down this format so that it will help you write the letter correctly. Now what is the first thing you will write? You will write the address of the writer, then you will write the date, then you will write the superscription or the salutation, you will write dear Salim or dear friend. Then you will write the body of the letter which has these 3 components in it. What are they? The first one is the introduction, then the main content and then the conclusion of the letter. Finally, what will you write, children? Subscription and writer's name. You will write yours lovingly and then your name. Remember, yours lovingly, don't put an apostrophe s for yours. Okay. So this is the format of the informal letter that you will use in order to complete this second assignment. Now remember, begin your letter like this. Dear Salim, I want to tell you a very unusual incident. 2 months ago, I saw a new shop in the market. This is the introduction part, children. So I have already given you the introduction part. You will have to now start writing the main part of the letter. Now remember, children, since you are Babu, write everything in first person. Use the first person here. Thank you, children. I hope you will write these assignments and be ready for the next session. Thank you so much for a patient listening.